All right. Hello. So, President Joey Biden has come to town. So, it's absolute mayhem. All the roads are closed and so on, and it's particularly high security because the dissident paramilitary groups, apparently they are likely to use the spectacle of Joe Biden's appearance to communicate their ideology. So the police are on high alert. So the town's full of riot vans and so on. So they're expecting trouble. So he's come to fix the bullet holes in the Europa Hotel. It's nice of him, isn't it? So I'm taking a weird route back from work, which is like a kind of back road adventure. Which is kind of a shame because we won't get to see any of the exciting stuff that's going on in town, but I'll just end up stuck in traffic anyway. So, and I have this tiny little sat nav here. Probably a stupid idea. It's minuscule, but I think we'll make it. I believe. So, what was I going to talk about? I can't even remember. Yeah, so people seem to be interested in, and I've had quite a few questions asking about the timescales. People want to know as a goal, how long is it going to take me to have some sort of shift in perception, and obviously it's the obvious thing here is that it's not a goal, it's not a thing in the future. I think it's all here, it's all now, and it's all beyond here and now at the same time. But saying that, relatively, there is value for people to be able to have some hope of escaping the prison of the egoic self. And I think it's quite useful to point out that, at various times throughout the day and throughout our lives, even pre-awakening, we experience periods of transcendence, periods of all the time. It's just missed. The only difference between, in fact, there is not really any difference between that and awakening. And you can think back to, I'm sure if you go into your memory, if you want, and you can think back to times where you experienced a state of transcendence of the ego, a state of release from the bondage of the self. Pardon me. And then maybe that memory will shift you into a state of transcendence in the immediate, in your experience now. But the awakening it's like it can be something that accumulates over time, and by accumulate I mean unaccumulate. The solidity of the self can be a thing that as the person matures, it gradually loses its solidity. I mean, there are the immediate awakening. It doesn't have to happen that way, I don't think. And I think when that does happen, what isn't really seen a lot of the time is all the rest, all the preparation, let's say, towards that moment that goes unnoticed, because that moment, that shift, the magnitude and the clarity of that kind of overshadows the rest, to an extent, if that makes sense. So even in my own case, from my own experience, there was, because it's not something that's based in time and in mind, it's actually difficult to pinpoint. Like, you know, I hear a lot of people say, yes, there was a moment where I realised my true nature, and then that was it. I totally get that, but in my case, there wasn't because that moment and that realisation, it wasn't a thing, it wasn't a period in time, it was something that transcended that. All I can really remember is what surrounded it, and the thoughts and that's part of the reason why I've documented this, because you just forget. And I remember a few moments where there was this clarity and this understanding that was there, but it was surrounded by thought, and the part of it is the understanding that thought is part of this as well. Thought isn't a bad thing, and everything exists simultaneously. Nothing's mutually exclusive, from a non-dual point of view. If we're thinking about it that way. So when something is transcended, that doesn't mean that the thing ceases to exist, or isn't there anymore. It's transcended, it's seen through, but it's still there. It doesn't lose its existence. What is lost is the belief in its existence, the solid belief in its existence, not the existence of the thing itself. So the awakening and the ego exist simultaneously. That's why even after the initial shift and beyond, the ego still functions. The dysfunctional patterns are still operating. It's not as if it immediately solves all these problems just out of the blue. It's not as if the ego is wiped clean and it's a clean slate. You realise your true nature, and then you react in an egoic way, and then you see it's automatic. You see that this thing isn't yours. You're not in control, and that's a big part of it. The seeing through of the autonomy of the agency of the self. And when we project into the future, we lose a lot of the qualities of our present moment and the direct experience, the here and now. We are longing for something, we're striving for something that doesn't exist. It's backwards. So letting go of that, and that's another thing that's difficult to let go. Letting go of that is what's needed. We learn, even with these ideas, these spiritual ideas, the spiritual journey, all of that, the presence of being, the awareness, and so on. We let go. We learn these things in order to transcend them. We learn these things in order to let go of them. They're tools in a way. They're tools, or thought tools, that are useful, but we need to understand that they're not tools, and they're not the ultimate reality. Although they are reality as well, because there isn't any real distinction between anything. So and I find this mirrored in a lot of other things, like for example with the sport, physical exercise and so on. When I did my bodybuilding, powerlifting and all that stuff, the best results that I experienced were when I was exercising for the joy of exercising, not for a purpose, to fulfill a purpose or to move towards a goal. That was a byproduct, and it's kind of the same here. Don't miss what can be enjoyed, and right here. Don't miss out on this experience. Just don't allow yourself to pass things up in the moment, in your direct experience now, because that's the whole point of this, to get to know and to enjoy our experience as it is, without wishing it was something else. I don't have a clue where I am, like in the middle of nowhere. So far I've not taken a wrong turn, so my minute sat nav is working. So these thoughts are fine to have there, to function, like it's when it turns into anxiety. Like, so for example, like I'm driving, got my minute sat nav here, I don't know where I am, and I could say, oh, hopefully my sat nav works. So far it's working okay, but if I turn that into oh no, what if my sat nav doesn't work, what if I take a wrong turn, and then it becomes like anxiety. You see the difference between the two? One, I'm invested in it, one I need something out of it, and the other is just an observation, or a bit of humour. It's the same thing with the ego. You know, when we realise our true nature beyond the self, and then the self reacts, that it's okay, it's totally fine. The self's going to react. It's not as if we've become unawakened, or, you know, it's just as long as we're aware of what this is, that's happening, what this self is. As long as we're aware that it's not us, that it's not in our control, it doesn't define us, it's not what we are, that's the difference. And to be at peace with that, to not resist that, because if we resist the actions of the reactions of the ego, then we're in it straight away. But if the ego reacts and we're aware of it, then we can come back to ourselves, so to speak, our true nature. And every time that happens, the ego, the self, loses a little bit of its power, loses a little bit of its solidity, and that progresses over time, or regresses, more accurately. And we begin to see the subtler and finer layers of this. Like, for example, like I talked about before, the aware ground of being, the witness, the true self, the true I am, that still contains a bit of self, a bit of the ego, albeit on a macro level, and that subtle layer, that subtle frame is so deeply ingrained, so seemingly just there, that it can evade exposure or attention so much more easily than the obviously fictitious mind-made thought identity. And by taking that step back, or step out of, so to speak, repeatedly, and reducing the density and the sense of self, then over time these subtle layers will become much more obvious, and soon it becomes so obvious, the fictitious nature of the self becomes so obvious that it's just no longer it's undeniable that it's not real, and then you can't take it seriously anymore. You can't take it seriously anymore, even if it's still there. It's not like I said, it's not transcending these illusions. Doesn't mean the illusion doesn't exist, doesn't mean it disappears. We move through it. So there's the riot vans. I better not, I'm going to show you them, but I better not film them, just in case you think I'm dodgy. In Northern Ireland, the police cars are these big, like, armoured vehicles, because they get petrol bombed so much. People just love a petrol bomb over here. So still have no idea where we are. So yeah, the time frame thing, if it helps, to know that we're not particularly, the idea that we're in control of awakening is an illusion, and if we're going to wake up, if we're going to have a shift that changes us, that has a huge impact on our personality and how we relate to the world, if it's going to happen, it happens, and if it doesn't, then it's not going to happen. And that sounds disappointing, but what we can do is enjoy our experience by moving out of the mind and appreciating what's here, and we can do that right now easily, and forget about when is it going to happen, or why am I awake yet, and just move into the experience and just appreciate this with as much intensity as we can, because that's all there really is to do here. It's simple. That's all there is to do. Just move into our experience, be aware of our experience with as much attention, and without labels or interpretations. Just be here. Just be aware of this. As much as possible. Am I going straight through? Yes. And whatever means that we can use to connect with our experience, our sensory experience, then, think about something that you're attracted to doing, like an activity like walking or sports or driving or gardening or I'm not sure if playing computer games is a mind accelerator. I'm not sure about that one because I don't play, but like hobbies and stuff like that, we're attracted to these things because they allow us to move into and appreciate our direct experience, our sensory experience, with some presence, and allow us to move out of the mind fiction made self, this perpetually dissatisfied entity that we carry about with us and feed with thought, and use that as the gateway, and just enjoy it as much as you can, and enjoy life as much as you can. And then soon we find out that our very existence and what we call life is joy itself. Just experiencing this is mind-blowingly, the experience is beyond joy, beyond our idea of love or happiness. It can't even be put into words. Just existing, just these senses, just this experience, is enough. we don't have to find anything else, and then everything is every experience, every interaction, every thing that appears before us, we have this immense appreciation for, this amazement, this profound enjoyment, and we don't have to look for anything anymore. We don't have to look for when will I feel better. It's all right here. It's just having that become obvious. This seeming relative process that we have to go through to allow us to experience this the way it is and appreciate that. seems to be what the spiritual journey is. I think I know where I am now. Not sure though. Yeah, so but in doing that, at some point, I would say, I don't know if it's inevitable, but at some point we have to face the reason. We have to face the reason why we don't feel like that all the time, and we have to deal with that. And by dealing with that, I mean letting go of it. And it's strange how we cling to this suffering. It's not like it's almost like, I'll just speak about myself. It's almost like I wanted the suffering. It's almost like I needed the suffering. The suffering was something I wasn't willing to let go of. This illusion that was this potent, like, you know when you have an injury, right, and then you can't stop like poking it, or or like you've got a cut and you can't stop picking it, and you're like, oh, that's sore, but then you keep doing it, like a kind of weird masochistic thing. It's kind of like that. And you just have to let it go and let it heal itself, leave it alone, stop aggravating it, stop perpetuating it. That's kind of what it feels like, or felt like. Anyway, I think that should be enough for now. I'll talk to you next time.